Look, I can't ignore the leadership speculation swirling around Sussan Ley and the Liberal Party. It's ridiculous and ill-timed. It's typical of the instincts for self-harm inside the Liberal moderates. And it is, of course, egged on by Labor. Much of the Canberra press gallery also just loves to amplify and exaggerate this sort of stuff. And in the short term, it's most likely going to come to nothing. So I wish I could ignore it, but I have to mention it, especially given some Liberals I've spoken to today are a little dispirited and confused by it all. And look, in the longer term, Andrew Hastie may well be the great hope for the Liberals. But now is not the time. There are bigger fish to fry. Not just for the sake of the Liberals, of course, but for the country. And let's be fair here. Ley has taken the job of opposition leader at an enormously difficult time. And on this crucial climate and energy policy, she has ended up with the right position. And more to the point, she's been arguing it reasonably well in recent days. How do you get prices down? You use more of our abundant natural gas.
So Australians get this, Nat. They know that Australian gas should be for Australians, and we need to make sure that we bring power prices down. So we're putting affordability front and centre.
Now, if Labor wants to try to argue that using more gas generation doesn't improve our energy reliability and affordability, then they're going to have to explain why they've bankrolled the $1.3 billion Kurri Kurri gas generation plant in New South Wales' Hunter Valley that's coming online right now. The point about the energy argument is that Labor is presiding over a mess, which is why they only want to play partisan politics.
Australians know the cheapest form of new energy is renewables. That's why the Liberals' coalition policy is friendless. There isn't an energy expert in Australia coming out and saying this, whatever it is, will work. It is just a policy to try and get the Leader of the Opposition through to Christmas as the leader, in spite of the fact she is being undermined each and every day by her own colleagues.
Cheap political hits as a distraction from energy madness. If renewables are so cheap, why do bills go higher the more renewables that Labor installs? We all know why, of course, because they don't produce the power when we need it or where we need it, so we're hit with ever-increasing costs for transmission, storage and firming. Labor is in denial about this reality, which is why after almost 4 years in power, they try to blame their mess on the coalition.
One of the things that my government is dealing with is that for 10 years, they had 23 policy announcements on energy and they didn't land one of them. And now we've had multiple different announcements over the last week.
It's just not credible, is it? Which is why Labor doesn't want to have this debate. I mean, imagine this. Labor is still campaigning at the UN's COP30 in Brazil. They've sent Climate and Energy Minister Chris Bowen and a host of bureaucrats and advisors all the way to Brazil to keep campaigning for Australia to host next year's UN Climate Talkfest in Adelaide at a cost of up to $2 billion. $2 billion. But cop this. While you are expected to pay for this nonsense, the Foreign Minister doesn't think you're entitled to hear about their planned spending.
I'm not going to comment on, the cost of a conference that we haven't won the bid for yet.
You don't know the cost? I mean, we're bidding for it.
I said we're not. I think it would also depend on the scope of it, so I'm not going to comment on that, David.
But would that be the sort of price tag Australians should expect?
We're doing this again, where David asks the same question, Penny gives the same answer.
It's all so funny and jolly, isn't it? I mean, it's only $2 billion and it's only taxpayers who are on the hook for it. But here's the thing. The coalition has never been able to properly attack this stuff because they've had the same position, the same net zero by 2050 goal. Now they can attack this indulgence properly because they have a different approach. Sure, it would be clearer if the coalition had ditched Paris as well. There's no significant country in Paris that's on track to meet net zero anyway. In fact, the UN's own energy agency says net zero is impossible with current technology. So the whole thing is a sad joke. But here's what the coalition should concentrate on. Dropping net zero by 2050 is the right policy. The national energy self-harm under Labor is the biggest threat to this country on multiple levels. Having this alternative policy is crucial to call out Labor's mess. If the coalition can just be consistent and united on its approach for a number of months, its criticism of Labor's mess will cut through, and the many voters who have been bluffed by the climate and energy misinformation promulgated by Labor and its media mates will start to wake up to the reality. If the coalition remains strong and consistent, then every time there is another development in this disaster, it will only buttress their position. Like when there are more electricity bill increases, or when Labor has to spend more money funding more rebates, or when there are serious blackouts and energy shortages on hot days, or when the cost of living goes up driven by more energy cost increases, or when more industries suffer and jobs disappear. All these failures will only underscore how badly Labor is mismanaging this and why the coalition alternative is necessary. This debate is not about the climate. Nothing Australia does will influence the climate. We will get the climate that nature and global emissions give us. Nothing more and nothing less. This debate is about much more than electricity prices too. It's about how those prices affect the cost of groceries and all the goods and services we pay for every day. It's about the jobs and industries we have in this country and whether we can support the AI data centres and other jobs of the future. It's about whether we can build nuclear submarines here and develop other national security projects that rely on affordable and reliable energy. Therefore, it's about our energy security and our national security. And it's also about our environment and making sure that the whole country is not crisscrossed by solar factories, wind farms, big batteries and transmission lines linking them all. It's an argument the coalition can't lose if they make it consistently in coming months. But it will take time and unity and commitment. Magic fixes don't happen in politics. That's why moving on Sussan Ley now would be counterproductive.
I know you've got to ask these questions, Nat, but I'm not going to lose focus on the things that matter. And I'm not going to lose focus on the plan that I'm talking about right now, which is about people. It's about Australians. It's about affordable energy as a priority.
Yeah, the coalition finally has a coherent policy to push. They need to bed it down, lay the foundation for their attack on Labor. This must be their top priority for the next 6 months at least. That's what the country needs. If they get distracted by themselves again, they'll only be letting voters down.